Thanks for joining me again this evening, guys. It's almost dark, it's almost dinner time, and I was craving some southern fried catfish, so I thought I'd grab my pole here and slip on down here to the pond and catch one. I've got catfish in here as long as my leg, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to stick around long enough to pull one out of here. I'm going to tell you why. I made a big mistake here a couple of days ago. I was back here in the woods looking for Bigfoot Sasquatch, and I'd taken you guys with me that evening, and there at the end of our adventure, I went ahead and asked if you guys had any stories of Bigfoot Sasquatch or monsters or strange encounters of any kind. If you just kindly send them in to me and I'd retell your story. Now don't freak out. That's my cat. I felt my heart skip a beat. Well, just before coming out here this evening to get my pole and catch some fresh catfish, I read a message from Steve Greer out of Texas. And he told me a story that was more terrifying than any story we could make up about any creature that may or may not exist, because Steve's story is absolutely true. Steve wrote that he likes to hike in the George Bush Park in the Houston, Texas area. He described the park a bit. He says it's like a swampish area. They've got some lakes back there, several different waterways. I got to make sure I'm watching my back here. I hope you guys are getting my 6, as I usually ask you to do. One of the things Steve likes about this park, where he goes and often takes photographs, is the wide variety of wildlife. They've got lots of nice birds, exotic snakes, and some very large predators that he says shouldn't be there. So Steve was back there about 6 years ago. He was taking pictures of some wild hogs. It's in an area where Steve says you're not allowed to hunt because it's a residential area and there are a lot of houses close by. Steve was only about 6 or 8 feet away from a very large wild pig that was eating roots up from underneath the bank right there beside the water's edge. He was getting ready to take its picture when all of a sudden and out of nowhere comes the largest alligator Steve has ever seen in his life, and in one bite takes this wild pig's head clean off. Steve said it scared him so much he dropped his camera and was frozen in fear. It took him 20 minutes to calm down enough to be able to bend over and grab his camera to run out of that forest. He said when he did, that big old water monster came back up, grabbed that pig by the back leg, and took it underwater and was gone. Just making sure to take a good look around me here, guys. This is one of those stories that just kind of creeps you out when you tell it. Sure would be a good time to see something moving up there in the skyline at twilight, if something was moving around up there. So anyway, back to Texas and Steve's story. Just a couple of geese. Calm down. Steve said that over the last 6 years, he's tried to get back in there and get a very good, clear picture of that water monster, that giant, he says 20 feet long alligator. He says the closest he's gotten to it is about 300 feet away. He says it's so big it takes up this entire bank it likes to sit on. He says it has a mate that's about 8 or 9 feet long as well, or 8 or 9 feet as long. The original water monster is 20 feet long. And you know, from the house down here to my pond, I was thinking about what Steve said. And Steve, if you're watching this, I hope you don't get too scared. But you mentioned that the closest you've gotten to this thing in the last 6 years is 300 feet. I'd be willing to bet there's been times that that monster's been a lot closer to you than that and you just didn't know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. It was short and sweet and to the point. And I know one thing. I don't feel like I'm craving that catfish anymore. I think I'm going to take my pole and head into the house and settle for chicken. So thanks for being with me here this evening for another terrifying tale of what may or may be out there. If you've got a creepy story, send it in the comment section. We'll see you for more next time.